Welcome to the SPEAKPact podcast, where high-performing speakers and the producers who hire them merge to give you the insider secrets to the lucrative speaking industry. Antoniette Rose, your podcast host and celebrated speaker agent, unveils insider success strategies. Discover a nexus of thought leaders and bookers, maximizing your potential in each and every episode. Your ticket to ultimate speaking success begins right here. Catch the transformative insights waiting for you on the SPEAKPact podcast, hosted by the industry powerhouse herself, Antoniette Rose.
Welcome back to the SPEAKPact podcast. We are thrilled you are here, and you are in for a treat with Dr. Jacqueline Campbell. We're going to dive into the brain and how it relates to you as a leader and a subject matter expert in your field, but also how that translates when you are actually on the stage communicating with all of those who are in the audience who are trying to decide whether or not you have something to really offer them, whether or not you understand what they're going through and you have the solution for them. So welcome to the stage, Dr. Campbell.
Thank you so much, Antonia. And it's such an honor to be able to be on your podcast. I really appreciate your time.
I love that you're here. I'm going to tell our SPEAKPact audience a little bit about you, and then we will dive right in. You are a naturopathic doctor, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And you specialize in neuroscience, in mental well-being, and in emotional well-being, right? Not only for yourself, but really helping to understand the others that you're communicating with. They also have their things, right? And so have you ever done that? Have you ever just tried to communicate with someone? It just feels like there's just this wall and you don't know how to get through it. I think that a lot of times we have emotional cues and even maybe trauma triggers that we don't even recognize. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more. What is LPCS? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I'm a licensed professional counselor supervisor. In the state of Texas, I can see mental health clients. I've actually stopped seeing so many individual clients. I moved more into coaching, and I coach speakers. I coach people in leadership on their performance because it's all neuroscience based. But the reason why I made that shift from the mental health space was because when you focus on really working on yourself at a deeper level, it leads to peak performance. Our nervous system is prepped to perform, and it's prepped to be in flow, actually, as I'm sure a lot of your audience, they're speakers. Everybody wants to access that, but a lot of times we don't want to work on our wounds, right? Like the traumas, the insecurities, the limitations, all of it goes back to childhood, right? So me having 15 years in the mental health field definitely influences on how I do my coaching. But that's
I love that. And our poor parents, right? Everything goes back to childhood. We think we're over things, and it creeps up, but it's still there. We may not be able to see it because it's just become part of our, like you said, our flow. But others can definitely detect it and see it. So we'll dive into that a little bit more. And I do want to also dive into your conscious leadership strategies that you help corporate leaders. You utilize it on the stage yourself. You are a speaker and an author. So we'll talk a little bit about your book, how to regulate your nervous system. And I would assume in regulating your nervous system, let me know if I'm making too big of an assumption, but that also helps you to shift the nervous system, kind of the mood within the room, whether it's a boardroom or from stage and you're talking to an audience. How to lead with precision and purpose. And then you have a groundbreaking framework that we'll kind of dive into. I believe that that's in your book, but we'll just touch on it a little bit here in the interview. So let's start with how is neuroscience and emotional regulation important to a leader that may feel like, what that's a whole area. I don't know if I want to become an expert in that, right? How do they even start? And what does it do with regards to their performance, their team's performance, or their audience's performance, getting everybody on board? Let's dive in right there.
Right, that's such a great question because I think a lot of leaders, they don't think about, well, I need to tap into my emotions to be a more effective leader. And we absolutely do, which goes into neuroscience. The nervous system is built from your brain and your spinal cord, and it's connected and controls all of your senses. So this is what's creating your reality. But a lot of people, they don't understand how our past wounds, our unresolved traumas, our insecurities, emotional pains, our attachment wounds from our parents, not that it's their fault, it's just how we are as humans. They create emotional landmines that get stuck in the nervous system, and then your brain isn't fully developed. Just because you have an executive functioning of your brain or the executive portion doesn't mean you have full functioning. And so leaders who cannot effectively tap into their emotions and have not worked on a lot of these wounds, they're missing half of their potential. You know, by tapping into the right hemisphere, which is emotional. It's also connected to like emotional connection with people, right? So being able to be connected and have conversations, be intuitive, be creative, all that's on the right hemisphere of the brain. That's all the emotional piece. However, a lot of people who want to be peak performers, want to do better at work, make more money, they're more left hemisphere, logical, rational, emotionless. And so a lot of business owners, leaders, they end up focusing just on the tasks, not so much on the emotions, which actually helps balance their nervous system.
All right, so you work with high performers. I work with high performers. Have you ever seen the movie Limitless?
I
With
have not, but I've
Oh
heard
my God,
about it.
you need to, because you are the limitless woman. You need to see that. Who is the guy? I see his face. His name,
Is it Bruce Willis?
Bradley. No, Bradley something. Anyway, it's, he comes across this pill, right? And he takes it, and all of a sudden, everything that's already in him, his abilities, just get super heightened. And I'm
Yeah.
probably making a bit of a jump here, but you are already working with high performers. They're already really good at what they do. And you are saying that they're losing out on half of their possibility, right? Half of their true capability by not tapping into that other hemisphere of their brain. So you could be that pill, right? Towards the end, I don't want to kill the movie for you, but he learns how to game it. He learns how to, I guess, game his brain without having to take the pill.
Mm.
And this is right. We could just skip the pill and let's just get to
Mm.
our full potential, everything that we really can offer. So for those of us who are mostly brained or more on the intellect, um, more on the maybe engineering side of thinking,
Right.
how do we tap in to that other side of the brain without losing
Mm.
the whole thing, right? Does that question make
Right.
sense to you?
It did, because a lot of people don't want to slow down to feel their emotions, or they think it's a waste of time. Well, the emotional capacity we have, think about it, if it's like a mile wide, right? That emotional capacity equates your awareness because they're in the same places of the brain. So if you're moving so fast and you're always task oriented and you don't slow down to pay attention to your emotions, you actually lose out on discernment and the ability to be detail oriented. So we make a lot of mistakes, we make bad decisions, and the impulsiveness and compulsion, they all increase because we don't actually have control. The part of our brain that deals with movement fast and slow, we should be able to have control over it. It's called the basal ganglia. Well, it's on overdrive. You're moving too fast because you're not slowing down to pay attention to the emotion.
Mm. So how do you do it? Meditation? Like how do you get there?
There's so many different techniques. One is meditation. Breath work is another. Mindfulness is another. My favorite is, and this is actually it's tapping into my actual technique, but it's super easy. Anybody can do it, and I joke about it because it's like, well, our nervous system knows how to do this. We just have to let it, kind of like going to the bathroom. Like We only needed to be trained to sit on the toilet, right? Like where to go. We don't need to be taught what needs to happen. The body already knows. So when you're talking about the nervous system getting balance between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, right? Performance or emotion. If you actually just look straight with a straight spine, sit up and then look straight forward and then look all the way down. If it's a huge clock in front of you, you're looking at the number 6 and put your eyes down to the number 7 or down to the number 5 on either side of the 6. And then bring up an emotionally triggering event, it will start clearing it out.
Wow.
By itself. And it sounds so easy. The process is hard. Doing it is very easy, and anybody can do this. And then what happens is not only does it heal those wounds and it organizes the information, but then it activates neuroplasticity to go to the higher levels of the brain to get more access to resources, which is capabilities and things that we should be able to do. It's our potential. Most people don't exist.
Yeah, I love it, love it. So is this something you just kind of do on the fly, or you got to get yourself in a locked closet somewhere to go do it, get on top of a mountain, right? Because you just do this in the moment, or is it something you really need to set yourself apart to do?
So you should have privacy when you do it. I usually set my timer for about 10 minutes if I'm focusing on an issue that upsets me. Let's say you have a speaker who has a story that they want to tell, right? Like in their speaking engagement, but it has part of their wounding in it. And instead of, projecting our trauma from the stage so our audience won't be able to hear it, we really want to deliver it in a way that people can digest. So it needs to be coherent, which means we actually need the resolution to it before we get on stage. What I would say is if you have a speaker who has that, they're like, I know what story that is and I know what trauma that is or wound, then set your timer for 10 minutes. You have some privacy. Sit, put your eyes down to the left, bring up the situation, how it makes you feel about yourself, where in your body this negative emotion is surfacing, and just hold your eyes there. The nervous system will do the rest. When your timer goes off, after the 10 minutes, it's clearing out. It does weird stuff. It'll bring up thoughts, images, sensations. Then set your timer again for another 10 minutes and put your eyes down to the right. And the rest happens naturally. Then when you go back to the situation that was originally upsetting, it's not going to be as upsetting anymore because the nervous system has gotten momentum on clearing it out. So then when they go to write, and if this isn't a one and done thing, like you can do it regularly, but if it's on one trauma that you're wanting to put in your keynote, you're going to be able to do it in a couple of sessions.
Okay, this is so powerful because if you follow this podcast, you've heard me say it at least probably a dozen times. Speak from your scars, not your open bloody wounds. But yet we want to relate to our audience. So we do want to talk from those places of experienced life, right? Life experiences, experienced trauma, but we also don't want our audience to be feeling sorry for ourselves and lose our effectiveness. When you're dealing with high achievers and performers, most of them have something that they're trying to overcompensate for. But there's a lot of times they're either neurodivergent or they have had some sort of major trauma in their background and they are overachieving, kind of hit the ground running. Let's just do this thing that's going to validate who I am. It's going to take care of all the problems because I'm fine, right? I'm successful. So that shows that I'm fine. I had one speaker whom I adore, all kinds of success, but she finally came to a place of utter burnout because she said I was hiding in the spotlight. That was her way of hiding, just showing, how fabulous that she was. Do you find that leaders, high performers, often have these traumas that they're just working, right? They're just working and doing their thing, so they don't have to actually deal with that thing.
You are absolutely right. I find that a lot of the time. I don't want to say all of the time with every single person, but the majority that I've seen, I myself have gone through it. I had to use my techniques as well. But when we are trying to achieve and we're like you had said, hitting the floor running, but we're actually running, we're chasing something, right? Which is either the spotlight or performance or the feeling of enough, right? It's because it's not inside of us. We haven't found that peace yet. And that's actually why I created my framework. This is what I do with my coaching clients, and this is what I bring to the corporate space. In terms of like peak performance with emotional intelligence. That's the name of my program, but it's the balance between the left and the right hemisphere so you can see clearly. Not only can you see yourself clearly, but you can see the world clearly. So when an unresolved wound surfaces, you can address it quicker because your system is balanced. And so this lets you be more attentive to yourself when you have unresolved wounds in your emotions, but also other people. So you know when somebody else is like, you can use the term trauma dumping, like they don't mean to project or put all their stuff out there. It's not your responsibility, but they tend to kind of like push it out there. It's because they're overcompensating in another area and they don't see it clearly, right? So you get to see yours more clearly so you don't overcompensate. So whether you have the money coming in or you have the achievement or you have the success, you still have the peace, because it keeps you in alignment and you're not chasing anything and you're not running from anything. So that's my goal when I'm working with people.
So powerful on so many levels, Dr. Campbell. And one of the things that I'm seeing as well is we've already achieved so much, right? And we think that that gives us not so much the validation, but that makes up for anything that could have otherwise held us back. So we plowed through it. We're achieving, darn it, despite everything else, right? Yet we don't realize that those things are still there somewhere, stuck in your system. So yeah, you're achieving, but how much more impact can you be making? How much more stronger can your relationships be? How much more could you be achieving? We are holding ourselves back by basically, if I'm speaking for myself, not wanting to open up Pandora's box, right? It's all good. I've got things good. Like things are good. We don't want to go there again, right? I already did that. Already traveled that journey. Why do we want to head back there? And I like the way you said, I hit the ground running, thinking I'm running towards something, but I might just actually be running away from something. And as a leader, that's not a good way to lead, right? And it's not being the most effective you that you can be. Another little clip in this Limitless movie was really, really interesting, and that was Bradley Cooper was the actor, whoever his name was in the movie, was being railed by the girlfriend of his landlord because he had not been paying his rent, right? And she's railing at him, and all you see is her ugly face and just kind of railing on him. And he had just taken the pill, right? And so he's thinking really, really quickly, and he's seeing that she is not railing on him because she's frustrated that he hadn't paid the rent. She's frustrated about things in her own life. And when he starts speaking to her where she's at, because she had her own trauma, she had her own things that she was dealing with, all of a sudden she's just, they wound up in bed together, right? She just, she completely turns around. And so my point here is that sometimes when we're in a situation, whether we're in a place of leadership, trying to lead a team, and we're getting pushback, sometimes in that you're getting blamed because they're not performing, and all the things. If we could really see what the other person is, the truth behind what they're really frustrated about. So that's in a corporate dynamic, but let's even say you're on stage. Hopefully as a speaker, as a pro, you have done your homework on who's going to be in the audience, what kinds of challenges they kind of collectively face in the line of their subject matter area. And you can speak to that when they go from this to, hey, they're really speaking my language. That speaker really does understand what I'm going through. So they're more likely to have the solution to what I'm, to the fix that I'm looking for. How do you do that so you deal with yourself first, right? That's always, so put your oxygen mask on first. But once you have taken yourself through this journey, how do you begin seeing how you can utilize this really powerful technique, cognitive processing, to be able to better relate and better impact those that you feel like you've been charged to impact?
Right. Well, thank you for that question. When it comes to working with people in an audience, I do cognitive processing with my corporate training clients. So those are C-suite, very small groups, and my coaching clients. But when I'm speaking, it's more visualizations and energy work and heart opening techniques. And I do that with everybody in there because it naturally shifts their nervous system, because most of us are not open. We're usually very closed and we have a lot of negative filters on. And so to open them up, that allows them to get more comfortable. But then let's say just randomly, if I'm dealing with somebody who isn't open and they're not on the stage and I can't just do this exercise with them, right? The more you work on your wounds and the more you have calm and clarity within yourself, the more you can see other people when they do and when they don't. So it's like a spectrum of awareness. And when you're dealing with somebody who isn't open, who doesn't even know they're not open, and then they're, frustrated or overwhelmed, or maybe even projecting their wounds on you, and you, like you had said, you talk to the person behind their trauma and you just give them grace and you care about them. You don't have to be a punching bag, right? But you're not talking to the trauma. Don't engage with the trauma, which is the negative aspect. Like he did in that movie, you talk to the person behind who's trapped behind their trauma. Most people don't even know until they're given that grace and that caring in the moment that they're even acting like that. So then usually they'll melt. That's the word that I use. They melt when you talk to the real person behind the trauma, and then they open up naturally. So anybody can do this, but it takes real strength and accountability to not like lash back out at somebody who lashes out at you. And any one of us can do it, but you have to give grace and you have to understand you're not talking to them, you're talking to their trauma. This is actually one of the reasons why, and to be able to work with audiences and get your message out there in a way that they can understand and receive, even though they have, their own cognitive blockages. This is why I started working with speakers, is because when you are projecting your trauma on the stage, you have a stage, you want to speak, but you have this message that your heart really, really wants to give, but it doesn't come out clearly if you're projecting the trauma, if it's not resolved. In order for your audience to really receive it, you need to have worked on a lot of those wounds, get calm and clarity within you. So when you explain it or give the lesson, which is usually a fix to a problem, right, on stage, then it comes out in a coherent and organized way. Their brains can actually hear you better if you're organized.
So you're, as a leader, you're approaching, or as a speaker on a stage, you're approaching the receiver of what you're trying to come across, get across, with empathy versus slapping them around. Like, just get it together, right? You just do ABC, do my acronym, right? And everything's going to be great, when you really haven't felt them. You don't have that empathetic piece. I like what you said, the common clarity, right? As you get more clear, then you can more clearly see what other people are going through. And there is a spectrum of awareness. So how powerful is that? I could really see how that would just exponentially boost somebody's career in the speaking and corporate training industry. Anybody can give information, but how many of us can really touch the heart of a person, which is then going to make major transformations in their lives without them even realizing what you've done?
Well, you actually said it at the beginning, so we kind of like looped this entire conversation back to the very beginning. You said, have you ever talked to somebody and you felt like there's a wall in front, right? Like literally our brain waves are not connecting because our nervous systems are not open. And if you're on stage and you have not done the work for yourself, you cannot engage and actually connect with your audience. And that we have to be able to do that.
So good. Okay, I could go another 3 hours with you. There's so much depth here. We might have to revisit Like let
We
this
might, yeah.
let this nourish, like settle in, and then revisit this again. But before we get to my signature question in the closing, I would really, there's going to be a ton of people listening to this episode who are like, okay, how do we get a hold of Dr. Campbell? I would like to do this in a safe setting, in a safe environment. So what are some of the favorite ways you like to be reached? And then what's your book? All the good things.
Right. So the recent book that I just launched, it's on Amazon, but you can also get a free ebook. So you just email me. But that book is called Life's Contradictions. It's 25 lessons from trauma every leader should know. And this is the same technique that I use with my speakers when I coach them because it completely shifts your entire reality. Which, I mean, if you can do that and you can see things that you didn't even realize you didn't see, how amazing is that? But you can find me on LinkedIn, Dr. Campbell or Dr. Jacqueline Campbell. You can go to my website, Dr. Jacqueline Campbell, or you can call me. You can always text or call, right? It's 682-587-9859. And then my email is jcampbell@visionexpansio.com.
JCAMPBELL at, what was that?
At Vision Expansio.
Vision EXPAN.
SIO.
Okay.
Instead
Okay.
of expansion, it's expansio. I was trying to go Latin. It sounded cool, but now everybody's like, isn't that supposed to have an N? And I'm like, no,
It
it's supposed
is
to
cool.
sound cool.
We will definitely put this all in the show notes. But one of the
Cool.
best ways, you're so great, even on LinkedIn. And from there, you can get everything else. So it's
Right.
Dr. and then JACQUELINE, Campbell, CAMPBELL. And that book, okay, free, that's amazing. So free digital version, Life's Contradictions, 25 what every leader should know? What's
It's
the
25 lessons that every leader should know. It's
okay.
actually lessons that we get directly from the nervous system. So that's why they're contradictory.
Love. And I will I'll be downloading that one too. Um, we already did so much. And for some people, it might feel like, I don't know if I want to dive into the deep end, right? What is something that today someone listening to this podcast could start putting into practice and maybe start preparing themselves for some of the deeper work?
Great question. And this is actually an exercise that I do with my audiences when I'm doing my speaking, because it shifts their state to be more in alignment with you naturally. And it's super easy. I also teach my leaders and my speakers to do it before they get on stage or like in important meetings, things like that. But it's heart focused breathing. Set your timer for 5 minutes, close your eyes, and you're literally just breathing in through your heart and out through your heart. Really focusing on that space, your entire physiology shifts and it starts centering around your heart the way that it should be, not the brain. The brain actually follows the heart. And so when you do heart focused breathing, there's actually an even more in-depth technique. I didn't create it. It was the Heart Math Institute. It's called the heart lock-in technique. You can look it up on YouTube. But what it does is it centers everything within you and your environment around your heart's electromagnetic field. So it opens people up naturally by being around you, even if they don't do the technique, if you just do it.
Okay. I have been to retreats and in different situations where they say, breathe from your stomach or breathe from your lungs or breathe from your heart or whatever. And it's like, how do I, like, you're going to be breathing through your nose, your mouth. Like, how do I do
Right.
that? So how do you?
I get it, and you're not wrong. I struggled with it too. What helps me, because I'm more of a visual person, is I close my eyes and I visualize my heart, and it turns white. Like if you're breathing in a white light into your heart and expanding it. And then I visualize it kind of like like if you were to visualize a big opening in your heart, and then it closes when you exhale. Then it comes in into your heart, and then the opening will close as you exhale each time. Right. So adding that visual helped me. So hopefully it'll help you guys too.
Okay, gosh, so much power here. Dr. Campbell, definitely get Dr. Campbell's book And this has really put us on a major jump, I believe. We're all in a universe. If you wouldn't be here, right? If you were not on this collaborative universal pact to make the greatest impact with the power of your voice that's possible. It's really interesting. My whole career, right, is centered around the voice. And that was something when I did the exercise, one of the first things that really tightened up. And I will tell you, I cannot swallow a pill. My throat isn't big enough. Sometimes I can't even swallow food. Like I've got to chew it so deeply. And I went and saw my doctor, and I'm definitely on the more natural wellness side. And he was an applied kinesiologist, and he said, "Well, this has nothing to do with," because I'm thinking, do I need to go see an ENT? Like, is there something wrong with my throat? Do I have cancer? The whole thing. You go through all that. And he said it really has nothing to do with anything physical. It's emotional. And he did some work, but how people have heart issues or liver issues or digestive issues, and they've seen doctors and they've taken the pills and maybe even had the surgeries, but they're not getting to nothing is really helping. And I think that we forget to look at the whole cohesiveness, right, of how we're created. And our emotions are a very big physical part of our overall well-being. Do you have anything to say to that?
Well, that's actually that's the main reason why I got my doctorate in naturopathic health, was because as a therapist focusing in neuroscience, I noticed how it was all stuck in the body. So people with heart issues, breast cancer, they had a lot of grief. People who ended up having brain tumors and dementia, like they literally had dissociative barriers that were blocking them from working on these suppressed wounds. Digestion issues, their power and control issues, um, bathroom, like irritable bowel, right? Like you could have defense mechanisms and shame stuck in those areas. We don't think about it like that, but that's exactly what's happening. So if you're working on your health, look at your emotions. And that's
Mm.
actually really powerful that you had said this whole time you have this career where you can speak and you're wanting impact and you're coaching, or I'm sorry, coaching. You're an agent for speakers. It's all around the voice and impact, right? But your voice is literally suppressed. There's pieces of it, and as you dig into that, and if you keep working on that, I'm sure you will. I'm here as a friend too, right? But the more you dig into that, the more it loosens up. All of a sudden, you might realize there was so much connected to how your voice was suppressed that you didn't even know. Right.
How
That's the
powerful.
power of really tapping into our nervous system.
Oh gosh, how powerful. And at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of the analyticals, right? The analytical thinkers, the engineer minds, they're going to say, oh gosh, that's so woo woo. Like that's just so. But there's a ton of science. If you like the science, there's no shortage of the scientific connection between our emotional well-being and our physical well-being. It's well documented, well tested, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and we all have it. Like you cannot traverse this world without having something that happened. And everybody thinks it's a scale, right? I didn't have this massive trauma that happened to me, so I'm good. Like that kind of therapy, those kinds of things are for people who've really gone through something big, but something small. A kid making fun of you on the playground, or a parent just being a little, impatient. Um, when it gets stuck in your body, your body doesn't know that it's little versus big, right? It's just as big. So we all have it. So everybody, get Dr. Campbell's book, reach out to her. I love the work that you're doing. Go ahead.
I know we're coming up to time, but I wanted to share this with you because I think it is so powerful. I was actually working with somebody for coaching. He was a public speaker, but he had to stop. Like it completely derailed his career. And he was a big guy too, very powerful, very strong. And he started having panic attacks out of nowhere. He didn't know where. He was rushed to the hospital. He thought it was a heart attack. They told him again, it was psychosomatic. This is emotional. Go see a therapist. So he felt completely helpless. When we did the float back, it went to a 5-year-old memory where he was rejected by a little girl on Valentine's Day. He gave her a little card and she just laughed at it and threw it on the floor and walked away. But because over the years things suppress, they compile in the body, and eventually it will break. If you're not working on it, it will catch up to you, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's like all the bricks that you've been building, they just come tumbling down, and it does go back to stuff that's been there the whole time.
Wow.
So I really appreciate the chance to, speak about this impact.
Thank you. I'd like to interject. Like, that is so powerful. This same doctor, I mean, he's just the go-to doctor that we have a little sniffle, right? We'll go to this applied kinesiologist. He will talk about, let's say you fell on your bike and you had a little knee bang up, right? On falling on your bike, and it healed up and you were fine and you went along your life. And all of a sudden, you're in your 50s and you need a whole knee replacement surgery. And it all stems back, if a doctor is tuned into this, to that injury that happened when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And now it's coming up. My son, actually, as we speak, he's in Mexico, praying for him. He's in surgery for his teeth, and he had trauma to his teeth young, and he's now approaching, his 40s, and it's all of a sudden can't come up. This problem has all of a sudden come up, and it's requiring some major work. And I just wonder if we had that awareness, and if most doctors had that awareness, if they could help treat those things, or like nip it in the bud, do it a little earlier on, right? That's physical. How much more powerful emotionally than you just try to pretend it's not there. I'm healed. We're going forward. Yet at the points where we're most vulnerable, the points where we're most susceptible, I think that's when it kind of makes everything worse, if we didn't deal with it.
Yes, couldn't agree more.
All right. Okay. Again, we could go on for hours, and we are over time. But thank you for being with us, and thank you for being on this journey to help people have that greatest voice that they can possibly have, to reach the fullest potential that they can possibly reach. I loved our interview, and thank you for being with us, Dr. Campbell.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you.
And for everybody else, ciao, ciao for now.
Thank you for listening to the SpeakPact podcast. To become a recommended speaker of Antoniette's WPC speaker agency, or you are a host or planner looking for a dynamic expert in optimized performance, Antoniette would like to personally meet with you. Secure a time with her at speakerbooker.com. Again, that is speakerbooker.com. It all begins with a vision, a voice, and a pact to impact. Join the SpeakPact movement by joining our new private Facebook group at the link in our show notes. Find us on nearly every social media platform at One Antoniette. That's number 1, ANTONIETTE, or simply #SpeakPact.